had ever seen anything like it. Chapter 16. Johnny Green's Initials. Timothy Turtle found himself in a very uncomfortable position, staked out as he was on the bank of Black Creek, with one rope about his body and another about his neck. And even then Johnny Green was not satisfied. Though his friend Red insisted that their captive could do them no harm, saying, "How can he bite when he can't move his head?" Johnny Green replied that he would "fix him so there couldn't possibly be any accident." And taking the old grain sack he had brought back with him, he wrapped it carefully about Timothy's head till he looked for all the world as if he had the earache. "There," Johnny Green said when he had finished, "he'll have to bite through that bag before he bites us, and I guess he'll find he has a pretty big mouthful." Then he pulled out his jackknife and felt its sharp edge with his thumb. "Let me do it for you," Red begged him, holding out his hand for the knife. But Johnny Green had no such idea. "No," he said firmly, "I've got to cut my initials myself." "He might get loose and grab you," the red-haired boy remarked hopefully. But Johnny Green told him that he would risk that. "Which way are you going to cut them?" Red asked him. "What do you mean?" Johnny inquired. "Are you going to make him red when he's going or coming?" Red explained. "I hadn't thought of that," Johnny Green replied. "But I guess going would be better. Then if he stands up you can read him just the same, without any trouble." So Johnny kneeled down beside Timothy Turtle. It took him some time to decide just where he would carve his initials on Timothy's shell. And he had about decided that the best place to put his mark on Mr. Turtle's back would be exactly in the middle of it, when he cried all at once, "Look, Red, look!" "What's the matter?" the red-haired boy wanted to know. "This is the queerest thing I ever heard of!" Johnny exclaimed. "Here are my initials already cut!" Red could not believe him until he had peered at Timothy's shell himself, and then he saw that what Johnny had said was true. "There's a date, too," Johnny pointed out, and he read it aloud. "That's more'n 30 years ago," he declared. But the red-haired boy laughed boisterously. "Shucks!" he jeered. "Somebody's been playing a joke on you. Somebody knew you were looking for this old turtle and put your initials and that old date on him just to puzzle you." Johnny Green didn't know exactly what to think, but probably he was no more upset than was Timothy Turtle, who was not having a good time at all. "I don't care if someone did catch this turtle first," Johnny said at last. "I'm going to carve my mark on him just the same." So he began to cut J.G. in the exact center of the back of Timothy Turtle, much to that old fellow's rage. And when Johnny Green had finished the letters he cut the date below them. "What are you going to do with him now?" Red asked Johnny then. "Turn him loose," Johnny replied. "Aw, don't do that. Let me have him," Red coaxed. Johnny Green said that he was sorry, but he intended to set his captive free, just as he had planned. He soon found that turning Mr. Turtle loose was no easy matter. Strange to say, Timothy Turtle did nothing to help. On the contrary, he made the task as hard as he could for Johnny Green, trying his best to bite that young man. In the end, Johnny had to cut the rope that held Timothy's head, and when that furious old fellow at last found himself in Black Creek once more, he still wore a noose of rope, like a collar, around his neck. When Johnny Green told his father about his adventure with Timothy Turtle, he had a great surprise. Farmer Green said that when he was just about Johnny's age, he had cut his initials on a turtle down by the creek. Now, since Johnny was named for his father, their initials had to be alike. So the J.G. and the old date that Johnny had found must have been carved by Farmer Green when he was a youngster. Somehow Johnny found it very hard to imagine that his father had ever been a boy like himself, and had spent his time playing near the creek and carving his initials on the back of a turtle. "How old do you suppose that turtle is?" he asked his father. "Oh, he must be a regular old settler," Farmer Green declared. "He may have been around here when your grandfather was a boy, for all I know." "Do you really believe that?" Johnny exclaimed. "Well," his father answered, "there's only one way to find out." "What's that?" Johnny inquired eagerly. "Ask Mr. Turtle himself," Farmer Green replied with a smile. End of chapters 13, 14, 15 and 16 of the tale of Timothy Turtle.